All right, Chelsea,
Brian,
what's going on tonight?
we are we have a very fun and potentially interesting activity where we're going to be discussing the unwritten rules of Instagram.
I've been excited about this episode, and then today briefly, I will be honest with you, I started to worry a little bit because I do think some people, if they were to see this, whether it's in clips or if they're in the live, will will focus too much on something that maybe they do and feel like super guilty about it, and then because I mean, we're not here to make people feel bad or feel guilty, but I
I
think
don't think we will. I think I will be the spokesperson for the people tonight. Don't worry, because
you're going to
I've
fall on the
been
sword for everybody. And that's the other thing that I was excited about, is to find out from you what some of the things that you've discovered that you've been doing. Not, I mean, is it right to say that you've been doing it right and there's a right and wrong if it's an unwritten rule?
it's I have been divergent, right? Like I have been breaking norms. Norms, to be fair, I didn't know existed, but they are cultural norms. And so I am bringing a very unique perspective to this conversation in that I am in no ways Instagram famous. Brianna's on. So she can tell you, my sister, hey, Amanda. So I'm in no ways Instagram famous. I have no real following and I don't even post in a correct way. Like I'm not doing anything to promote my fandom. And so for me, I found this so interesting and I'm so excited to discuss it because a lot of the rules we're getting are from the perspective of people with a lot of followers, also a lot of clout, big audiences. Like it's an interesting perspective. And so I will represent the people. And Brian, you can represent the
I'm kind of
fame
I'm
because we
I'm
all know you're now famous for
I'm
alien sex.
impartial on this, in the middle, and there's a lot of things that, going through some of the um, questions,
Mm-hmm.
or not necessarily the questions, but some of the unwritten rules that people submitted. I've been guilty of doing it myself over the years, but just to be clear, though, are you are you new to you're not new to Instagram. You're just kind of new to the
No.
garden niche of Instagram, right?
So no, I'm not new to Instagram. I've been using it as long as it's existed, but I think it's unique that I'm new to a public Instagram page.
Okay.
And that makes life very different. Like I've exclusively had private Instagram pages for my social life that I police heavily, like I don't, when you randomly meet people and you start following each other. And then once I see them like a year later, and I'm like, I don't even remember that who that person is. I unfollow just because the only Instagram I knew up until 2 years ago was a very curated, very private Instagram, just so I could like follow family friends. So I would say I'm new to this universe. Yes.
So this is going to be interesting because I'll be curious to see if we determine if some of these unwritten rules really just apply to either, let's say, the gardening aspect of Instagram, because a lot of us are coming from the garden side of things. That's how we all kind of met. But then one to where we have a lot of friends that have a lot of followers, like you were saying, and it's a
Mm-hmm.
little more public as opposed to super curated to where it's kind of a private account. It's just family and friends, like in real life. And then I think your behaviors are tailored different, and what those unwritten rules are there as opposed to a public account in a niche zone. So that's what I think we're going to talk about tonight.
Yep. Yeah, it'll be fun. The extra perspective I would add, or that I'm excited to bring into this, I've worked in tech and startups for a long time. And so when I think about it, I often think about what Instagram is promoting as well. So when I was reading some of the unwritten rules, I think they assume a highly educated audience, of which I am not. And so me seeing them, I was like, that's so interesting because Instagram's begging me to do the opposite. So I'm excited to kind of dive into those too, like the platform and the UX of the platform and the the purpose of the platform is the opposite, I think, is some of the rules. So you find to like dissect it from the tooling side as well.
So the one thing I'm going to say up front, and we touched on it at the beginning, and I know I've got a few friends within the Instagram gardening community that always kind of second guess that they don't want to do something wrong or to upset people. And they're going to more than read into some of these things that these are things that they do, and then they're going to feel bad about it. And that's not what we're here for. Number one, this is more for it. It is educational. I do think from some of the things that were submitted and some of the things that I have submitted, I think it would be very helpful for a lot of people, but I don't want people to be upset about it and I don't want them to take it too far. But it's something that I think most of the people that I interact with, I think we all want a better experience within Instagram, and we want to promote as much, not to sound eye rolly, like overly positive or whatever, but we're not here to hurt anybody. We're not here to make it a negative experience.
Yeah, I agree with you. I also like, I don't know. I guess I just don't care what people think so much. So I'm like, if I hurt anyone's feelings tonight, fuck you. Like that's not the plan. That's not the point of
See,
this.
this is
So-
I can't go back to back shows where you have all of the golden nuggets of all the clips
No,
and stuff. The last
Brian,
one,
you just need to be funnier, you
the
know?
last one, you took all of like the really cool stuff, and you
Mhm.
said all the really kind of the sound bites that are kind of, you know.
Yeah, actually,
So
I planned those lines ahead of time just to make sure that I'd get all the sound
so
bites. But
there
seriously, though, I think we got to keep this. This is lighthearted. If you're taking this too seriously, I'm holding a glass of wine. Get out of the live.
and yes, so we're all going to have some fun with this, and then for the people that actually that do this, like they break these rules all the time, there's no, well, no, there's a difference. So there's, let's say you who break them, but you don't necessarily know, but you're not out to uh, make a negative experience. There's
No.
others out there that just don't care, and they're just going to do certain. This will all make sense when we start going through some of these.
Yeah, so I've seen some. The bucket of rules that are just common decency. I would even say let's like save for a certain category. Oh, I will. These wine glasses are very nice. I will
What are
link
you
them in
drinking?
the show notes after.
What are you
I am
drinking, by the way?
drinking from the vineyard that I get a
The
wine
vineyard.
subscription from called Little Vineyards. It's in Sonoma. If you live in the California area, it's amazing. It's a family-run vineyard. They do not distribute outside of their wine club. They allow dogs on their property, and it's BYO food. Brian, I will one day you and
Vineyard
I.
Wine Club. Listen to this shit. My vineyard is like Walgreens. It's 10 minutes from the house.
No, this is not overpriced wine. This is very decently priced wine, like 20, 25 a bottle.
Yeah, I mean that's way out of. Okay, that's
And
a
I
whole
will
other thing.
post the wine glasses in the show notes. But as an aside, I think there's a category of rules that I would like to spend the majority of our time on. The vineyard is called Little Family Vineyards. It's so sweet. There's a category of rules that I want to spend time on that I think are super interesting and that, in my opinion, don't apply when you come from private Instagram world. So I came from private curated Instagram world and then started learning about all these rules of the public Instagram world and was like, what? I had no idea. So I think let's spend the majority of time on those. The other rules are just like common decency, which I can even list some off as an example if that's helpful. Maybe let's get the common decency rules out of the way.
And the common decency to some people are just oblivious to it. Real briefly, there's two ways that I broke down most of the uh, comments that I got in today. They're
Mhm.
broken down into kind of private, unwritten rules that we have for our own accounts that maybe some people don't know about, but it's not necessarily something that everybody needs to adhere to.
Mhm.
And then the other one is a general for everybody on Instagram should probably adopt these unwritten rules or at least know about them and then act accordingly.
Okay, but let me give you an example of one I got, and this is the common decency thing. No dick pics. So, like, come on. If anyone listening is like, what? I thought that was totally PG. Get off. Like, get out of here. I don't want to talk to you.
Well, so something like that, obviously. No, I guess that's something that we should, that it's a legit thing to talk about tonight because there's several people that we know that have received them, not from people that are part of the, well, I can't say that either. How do I put
No,
this?
I don't think this is even worth a discussion because there is no other side of this. Like, consent is real, especially online. Like, you are not permitted to send anything without someone's consent. That is completely inappropriate. So I would say, and I know they were kind of kidding when they sent it to me because it's a friend, but I would say, like, that category of comments, like, there's really someone who's like, oh, I had no idea. Chelsea, thank you for enlightening me. We're not friends, so don't talk to me.
Is there anybody here that hasn't received a dick pic?
I have not.
You've never received a dick pic?
Oh, on Instagram.
Yeah. Instagram or just in social media in general, just out of the blue.
No, I'm very curated with my accounts and my followers, and I block people left and right.
I've had 3.
You've had 3?
Yeah, I've had 3, and it's been a while since I've gotten them. I've never had boob pics, so if this gets out there, you're doing the clips, right, for next week? So if anybody wanted to send me my very first boob pic, but I've received 3. And the last
Oh,
one was from a guy, I I think he was from Africa and was just kind of small talking me. And next thing I knew, sent me one.
okay. Well, I will just say a blanketed. I will not even address that you think it's that anyone would think it's okay to send one, and I'm very sorry that anyone else has received one, and that's completely inappropriate and unacceptable.
Do you think the
And
hand raise emoji by Amanda is that she agrees with you or that she wants one?
no, I think it's that she's had one and it's
Well,
probably really traumatic. Like, I will say, like, I don't know, trigger warning, like, it's just unacceptable. I think it is a breach of trust and decency and completely unfortunate, but apparently
Danielle's
Amanda's going to
never
start
had one.
saving hers to send them to other people. So if you want to be violated via Instagram DMs, Amanda can share the love with how she is.
So
Oh,
how do you
crying
want
out
to,
about
so how do you want to structure this for tonight?
I
Because
think
there,
let's keep going
ballpark
with the
wise,
ridiculous
we
ones,
have
right?
we have like 30 of them loaded up in banners
Oh, you do.
to
Let's
pop
do
up.
yours then. I only have notes on my
What
phone.
I think we would it first of all, I think we have to go over the ones that you're guilty of that you've been told that you do.
I so when I asked for rules, I was asked for rules that I have not done. Which I feel good about. I was asked for pretty intense rules, which I agree and are ridiculous. Like, you're not allowed to comment on someone's body just because they're posting their body in photos, which I agree with completely.
And
So I
it's
think there's
done
this
all the time.
it's done all the time.
There's one especially with women, but there's a friend of mine on TikTok and she's an ag person, let's say out in California,
Hmm.
and going through one right now to where the guy, some bro, started it off something he disagreed with, and then immediately came back at her with, at least my face doesn't look like a horse or something, and then
Yep.
it just degraded from there, and she played it off, but I mean that's the
Yeah.
weakest form of coming back at somebody, right?
Yep. Oh, it's awful. So I'd say, like, that category, just like, truly, I'm sorry if you're inflicted by that. That is not the purpose of tonight, and that's awful. And, like,
And I guarantee
that's
that's why a
terrible.
lot of people don't want to use their photos in their avatar. We've talked about this before, not necessarily you and I, but I'm always like, you need to get your photo on your avatar so everybody knows who you are. Because
Mm.
I feel like, oh, I take for granted that I'm this handsome, beautiful person when I put my headshot out there or something. But it's nice when we're interacting with people on an account and you can put a face to their account.
I agree.
But I have to also remember on the flip side of things that when you put your face out there for people, you're exposing yourself to any kind of criticism, and it may be something to where you've grown up always being, it's I have to remember that. I still
Yeah.
think you have to have an avatar picture, and you just have to do the best you can with shit like that.
Yep.
But
So Brianna added a suggestion when I asked for rules, which was similar to what you're saying. If you want people to follow you, try striking up some conversations and stories versus liking a million of their reels in a row.
absolutely.
And so this idea, if you want people to get to know you, show your face in a ton of reels and or stories. And I do think those tips are really helpful. Like they're not necessarily rules, but it's like, how do we break the wall and actually connect with people one-on-one? The reason I share those is because I want to share a rule that I have broken more than once. So for anyone listening, if I've broken this rule with you, I apologize in advance. But the rule is to not comment, is to not ask for random help in stories without an introduction or any foundation, which makes sense, right? Don't like randomly ask someone for help if they don't even know who you are. The problem I had was I joined this community and everyone is so friendly and they do such a good job of introducing themselves in posts and of speaking really to the person in stories.
Sure.
And I felt like I was just vibing and connecting. And so you're like, if you need any help with this, let me know or something. And I'm like, hey, I do. That's awesome that you did that. How do you do this? And their response is like, who the fuck are you?
Brianna said that to you? Jesus.
She didn't say it to me like that, but I can understand. So I've been told this rule and I was like, oh crap, man. Like I think all of my introductions to everyone in the garden community was just a question. So from their perspective, who's this rando asking me for help? From my perspective, we're besties. We've been vibing for months and I'm just asking my bestie for some help.
Yeah, so that is a big one. I think if you have a relationship with somebody that's different, but if you're a random person specifically asking somebody for help, you gotta not probably do that. Now you can put out there in your story is something to where you can say I need help doing this, and there's more than enough people within the community that are like they like to help you out when somebody's in need of information or how to do something, especially within the gardening community. But to go ask somebody specifically, you got to remember that gets old for some people because they get that all the time.
Yeah, I didn't know this. And so, Amanda, you disagree which way? But yeah, I did not know this rule. I broke this rule constantly. I probably still break this rule constantly. I just struggle.
So Amanda's saying, I'm happy to help anyone out as long as it isn't a question like how do you garden or what is compost. Those are questions for Google. Yeah, and that's that came up several times. If it's an easy, basic question, and then you go ask somebody specifically for that just pretend like, what? Hey, Amanda, what should I plant out right now? Well, do you not think Amanda gets a ton of fucking questions all the time, and
Do
so
you
she's
know
gonna
how
sit
often I
down?
ask people, what should I plant out right now?
But you're not asking random people that you don't know.
Oh, no, I do. But I don't think they're random. So some y'all, I'm not gonna say me because no one's really, I have so few followers. Y'all do such a good job connecting that it doesn't feel random to me. So Brianna introduced Brian and I, right? And when she introduced us, it was like, let me introduce my sister for the first time. I was like, how weird. I've been following Brian for a long time. I already felt like we were friends. But she did this introduction like, Brian, meet Chelsea. I was like, hi, Brian. Nice to meet you. I don't already know you. I've commented on your crap.
Now I feel kind of embarrassed. But
You should.
if you would have started hitting me up with all these random easy questions, I'd be like, go bug your sister.
I may have asked you that, honestly. My favorite question is like, what are you planting out right now? I know it's a really obnoxious
But
question.
that's kind of different. And again, if you've established some kind of relationship or if you've already got a conversation kind of going with somebody, yeah. But then you have to kind of read in between the lines as far as when they're answering you back. if they are, if they seem kind of responsive in their answer and they're really going the extra mile, then yeah, it probably doesn't bother them.
Yep.
If you get kind of a short and generic answer back, then you don't take it personal, but just, you're gonna have to do some research on your own.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to extrapolate a little bit. But what about this one? They ask you questions outside of your niche.
And it's just out of the blue, or that it comes from some conversation that you've had.
Again, it's going to feel out of the blue for you. But as the loser following you, and you didn't even know me, it probably felt normal to me.
It's one of those things, and Amanda, it's a very nuanced issue. It is. You've got to be able to read some of the cues out there. You got to be able to read how they're responding to you. But you also just have to assume, I mean, you can't just assume that they're there to answer all of these small questions for you. I mean, I think you just have to have the right relationship, and then you have to put in a little bit of effort on the front end, that if you're going to ask for something, if that's coming from an information thing, you're going to ask them about something, at least be a little nice on the front. Hey, how's your day going? I love that post you did the other day. Oh, your radishes, the picture you put out there this morning looks awesome. Hey, by the
Mm-hmm.
way, then yeah, then it's okay. But too many times I've seen it to where people just, you don't even know who they are, and they ask you, what tomato should I plant?
So I totally get your perspective. Like I can understand it. And there's two reasons that I struggle with this. One, still I'll go back to like it doesn't feel random on my side. And I feel like I know who you are, but of course you don't know me. The other problem, and I get like, 3 likes a post. So that's kind of the world we're talking about here,
No,
people.
I do too. So
Yeah, you don't.
no, seriously.
Yeah. The other side of this coin, as a communicator, I am so direct. And a lot of this is sort of innate. And I think we've probably talked about this, but like innate within myself. I felt so at home in Manhattan and New York City. And the thing that someone told me that I loved was it's a sort of respect of privacy and a respect of time.
Hmm.
So fluff, when you don't actually care and you're just saying it to cushion what you really want to say, infuriates me. So if someone is like, "Oh, you look great today. I love your shirt." And by the way, I had a question. "Oh, you look great today. I love your shirt." To me feels fake. So if you're like, "Oh, Chelsea, I loved what you're doing in your front garden. By the way, I had a question." In my head, I think you don't actually love what I'm doing in my front garden and you only want to ask me the question. So and I get what you're saying, but in my mind, it works the opposite. So if someone cushions anything or they fluff it up, the fluff makes me mad.
I agree with that, and my response to what you just said is they fucked up. Then they didn't sell it. You can come across genuine, and you have to give something up. You can't just
Thanks.
come in and assume that you can ask for something. And again, and yes, it's a very nuanced issue. It's gonna depend on each different person, but you
Yeah.
better be the one to be able to determine who you're going to be able to do that with.
But if they ask me the question straight up, I'm chill. So anyone listening, don't
Yeah,
fluff it up with me. I'm going to call you on your bullshit.
it, that then I think then we're talking about perhaps again being a nuanced issue. If you saying you're kind of a newer account and
Mhm.
you're only getting 3 likes or something like that, well then any kind of feedback that you're getting from somebody is going to register a little bit different
Yeah.
than somebody that is getting sent random reels throughout the day and getting asked multiple questions.
Yeah.
But you got to be able to determine that.
I do like Emma's idea of following it up with a compliment versus opening with a compliment. But I think Brian's right. Like I get so few interactions that any I get, I'm super excited by just because it's like, oh, someone's following me. Then if I look at their page and they're actually a gardener, I'm like, oh my God, they're asking me a question and they're like a established gardener. And so you're right. I get
And
excited if I'm asked
smaller
anything.
accounts, I'll approach a smaller account differently than I would somebody that probably is a little more established. somebody that just has maybe a few hundred followers or something.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, in the end, at some point, you want you're posting things to share, acknowledge, and to hopefully just be recognized every once in a while that somebody sees you,
Yep.
right? That you matter on a random Tuesday,
Yeah.
you know.
Totally.
So a
That's even
smaller
my 3
account,
likes. I don't need more than 3 likes because the 3 likes feel like
well, see,
amazing.
get used to it. So 10 years from now, when you're at 20,000 followers and you're still getting 3 likes and 15 views, it won't bother you.
I won't be at 20,000 followers. I blocked too many people. All right, give us another rule.
One show's got to be let's compare our block list.
Oh man, mine's long.
All right, so let's just go through some that I got in from people today, and then I marked them as submitted. And I've had to combine a few because being an unwritten rule that's kind of general, I think a lot of us have the same. We're kind of thinking along the same terms, so I
Mm.
kind of put them together. And there was a few that were submitted that were exactly like mine as well. One here: don't call someone out by a name or handle unless it's for something good or a question. I think that's kind of hitting on the spirit of if you're not going to put out if you're having to put out some kind of energy at some point, I mean, why not just just try to keep it more on the positive side as opposed to being,
Yeah.
you're like, oh,
I need an
I've
example. I can't even I can't even think of what this means, to be honest. I'm not on the dark side of Instagram.
well, I think if I was going to use the homestead bundle thing, but that's different. That is different than what I think this person is saying here.
Yeah.
So if there was one person that I was annoyed, okay, here's one where if I'm annoyed with a creator in whatever niche it is, because I think all they do is copy other people's trends and there's nothing original about it, I'm not going to go out there and make a post and specifically call that person out for it. I think that's what they were
Oh.
going for, but I don't think that they're here tonight, so they can't expand on their question that they put here.
Oh, I see. I don't see this drama. So I hear that and I'm like, no, who's fighting in my house? Also, this is a Syrah Zenf blend. It's in my decanter. So sorry, I cannot show the bottle, but it's tasty.
Anytime
That's
somebody needs a
wild.
decanter, which is cool. I don't think I've ever
Yes.
used mine.
So, Emma, we need an example of a call out because I can't think of them. And the only person I can think of, but we do it in like a fun, silly way, is like Casla and I call each other out in like every other story.
That's
It's not
different.
for positive things, but it's
That's different.
jokes.
Yeah,
We're
because
like
you two
tongue
know
in
each
cheek.
other, and yeah, that's completely different.
Okay, so
I
that's
think
not what this means. I'm not breaking
no,
the rule.
no.
Okay, good, good.
For people that you kind of know, or you're kind of giving them a little jab or something like that, it's because you kind of know them, and I've done that with just about everybody that's here. I mean, that's
Okay.
because you're more than just regular acquaintances on Instagram. That's completely different from what I think they're saying. I think this person was
Okay.
kind of saying, calling somebody out specifically. There's no need really to do it. So
It's mean. So, question for you, as I have no desire to be famous on Instagram. Not that you do, but you just are. So, it's a problem for you. Something like this. I'm curious if, like, all PR is good PR. Like, does that ever come into play? Do you ever think? So, as an example, when I worked early at a company and the first time we got hacked, the conversation was like, wow, it was a startup. We were like, we made it. We were like, we're big enough that someone hacked us.
right.
And so, was there ever that moment where it's like, wow, like I'm famous enough that people are trying to slander me?
Yeah, I mean, does this fall under when you finally have a video that goes viral that
I'm just
you finally
curious.
get negative comments and you're like, oh, at least I know I've made it kind of big, or I know I've hit a viral moment because I'm getting all the trolls coming out. Is that what you're saying with that?
Yeah. Or just like, the first time like another big creator decides to call you out on Instagram, is that like, oh, I made a big enough splash that someone's decided, or it sounds like no. Brianna says no. it never is acceptable. But I'm curious for anyone else, like, was that like an exciting moment?
I it's all I guess it could fall it could be some kind of perversion for some, maybe, to where any positive or negative, as long as you're getting some kind of attention. I absolutely think there are people like that for sure. And sometimes when I get negative comments on certain posts, I feel, depending on the day, how I'm feeling, I'm like, oh, okay, let's have fun with this. But then on other days, and then after you've been through it for so many years, you get kind of tired of the shit.
Yeah.
And it does add up. The little paper cuts, what is it, death by a thousand paper cuts? A lot of this stuff a couple years ago, we would laugh it off and we'd be like, oh my God, look at this comment or whatever. But after you,
Hmm.
and I don't get as many as I used to,
Yeah.
but it absolutely adds up. And so it just depends on your personality, whether or not you like it because you get off on just being talked about. There's
Hmm.
absolutely people like that. Most of the trolls are like that. It's the
Yeah.
only time in their lives, their daily lives, where they think they matter because they're getting attention.
Yeah. Oh. And Emma, I can't remember. There were too many instances. Actually, exactly like Brian is sharing right now, where like it became death of tiny paper cuts. For the very first time anything happened and we had to pay for our first security engineer, it felt monumental. So sounds like y'all are all too far from that first moment to where now it's all death by tiny paper cuts, which is a bummer. So I'm sorry.
You ready for a? I think this one here is kind of a personal one, but I'm kind of curious if this is more. This is one that I have changed on over time. This was submitted by somebody. Don't post pics of your kids that they wouldn't approve when they are of age of consent. So later
Yeah,
on, and
it's super interesting.
I used to, when my kids were smaller, I used to get, go out there, do pictures and do videos of them tossing stuff in the compost and everything. And oh, look at my cute little kids. And I came to the conclusion, and I think this falls more under personal. You tell me. I was like, that's they're not really at the age of consenting to really want to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And even now, as teenagers, they're, oddly enough, they don't care to be in the social media spotlight. I'm not putting them in my stuff.
Yeah.
I quit doing that.
I think this one is just so hard because it's unprecedented. Like we don't. Oh, I'm trying to. Time. I feel younger in my brain than I am, and I've shared my age before. I don't mind. 33. I'm not that old, right? But like, are there kids who were being posted on social media who are now adults?
I just think
I don't think there are
is
yet, right? Like we haven't really had that generation.
yeah. I mean, I guess it depends on what window you're looking at on it.
Yeah. Like
But
so personally, I went swung very private on this topic to the point where no one, unless they saw me in person, knew I was pregnant until my son was 7 months old. So I posted nothing. So
mm,
I can't really recall exactly if I go back now, like why. And it was very interesting. But there was just this moment where someone was like, "Whose kid are you holding?" And I was like, "Oh, he's mine." We're like, "What?" And this was on my personal curated Instagram. So I swung to that side of I wanted nothing publicly published at all. And now I'm swinging a little bit more back to neutral only because it feels sort of inevitable. So I avoid it for the most part, but not entirely because like he exists in the broader community that is like largely online. We live in a city, all of our friends have social accounts. And for a while, my friends asked me, like, can we post a picture that your son is in? But I think this topic is hard. It's to each parent and each family and
and
how they
that's why I'm
feel.
saying I think it's a personal rule more than a general unwritten rule. And again, this
Yeah.
we were talking about a lot of these rules are going to fall under two different categories. And so I don't, when I see other accounts and they put their kids on, I'm not like, "Oh my God, I can't believe he or she did that." I don't think anything. But
Yeah.
I
It's
I have
personal.
just a personal rule that I just don't think that's right for me and then my kids and family that I just include them.
Mm-hmm.
And what are they going to say? No, they're kids. They're going to probably do whatever you want. But then you've probably seen videos to where it's like, oh my God, just leave your kid alone. He doesn't want to do this shit. And he's
Yeah.
just being coached. You know what it reminds me of? I know I'm not going to say it because I'm going to come off like a fucking asshole. I'll say it anyways. You know the wife, the Chris Watts story.
No, but I'm bad with names. Tell me more.
Killed his wife. And the two daughters that they had, I believe.
Oh, yes. No.
And
Oh,
she was
that was
all
terrible.
into social media, and then like
Yes.
every clip that they showed of her, and it just seemed like every single time she was throwing her husband and the kids on the video for her, and I was like, oh my God, can you just imagine? And again, that doesn't mean, well, I can see why she got it or something. Absolutely, I'm not saying fucking that, but you can see some of these videos, and you're like, what? Why are you putting them in the video? I mean, they don't want to be here,
Yeah.
you know?
No, I know, and it's hard. Like I don't know. I go so back and forth on it. It's so hard for me. The biggest thing that I have is like if you look a little bigger picture, everyone's all over online anyway. So it's just hard to think. Like I'm excited when Gen Z starts running for office and it's like you can't hide shit. Like if you did it, it's online everywhere, right? Like so it'll
Right.
just be very interesting to see. You can't avoid your authentic self. You can't avoid your past anymore. And we're already seeing this somewhat when people become more public, but as they're running companies, as they're doing different work, I don't know. But yeah, my biggest struggle, because I was so private and now I've swung pretty liberally to like much more comfortable not being private, is just he's all over online anyway. Like he goes to school and they post pictures at school on the newsletter that all the parents get.
Yeah.
It's like there are pictures of my kid everywhere, and I cannot prevent that unless I live in a bubble. So it kind of is what it is.
Yeah. So again, it comes down to, and I think I said that earlier. I'm kind of the same with my kids. They don't really care to be on social media anyways.
They
But
don't have their own either.
it's a personal thing for each
Yeah.
family. And then I literally probably just laid down in bed one night and I was like, you know what? They're not consenting to this, nor are they old enough to at the time when they were small. It's like it's not right. And that's just for me. And I don't comment whether or not other people want to do it on those, other than I'll make a mental note. I'm like, oh my God, those kids look, they're fucking miserable. Like mom's making them do it over and over again until she gets the right reel to post to some stupid song.
Some
You know?
of them do. I mean, I honestly do know kids who like doing it too. That's the thing. We're not there yet.
Oh,
We're
they
currently
could.
at no cheese. No cheese. I can't even send a picture to grandma. She's furious. Like that's where we are in my son's life. But I definitely know kids who enjoy it, who
Yeah,
like
no,
doing it, who like seek it out.
but then it should be their choice under the umbrella of their parents,
Yeah,
as
yeah, yeah.
opposed to the
But
parent just
still,
saying, "Hey, you're going to perform in my things." So,
sure, but we can't know what's really going on in the background.
right, right. All right.
It's
So
interesting.
next one here. This is a good one. This one was part of mine, so I combined it. Read the caption before commenting. So
Oh.
something like
Okay,
this. Go ahead.
I have so many thoughts on this one. This was in deep discussion with me and my machine learning tech startup husband. Once someone told me this, I was like, duh. Like, once someone told me, it was obvious. Here's my problem. Instagram sets you up to not do this. Like their absolute goal is for you to scroll as fast as possible, like and comment. They make it
Yeah.
super easy for you to like and for you to comment without reading. So I hear everyone in the comments, because y'all are way more famous than me, you're like, please read the caption. And you write such thoughtful, useful captions with so much good information.
That's Chelsea saying we're too long.
You
We're
are.
too
They're too
wordy.
long. Your captions are way too fucking long.
Yeah.
But also, Instagram doesn't want me to read it. So it's really hard when the tool I'm using is like, don't read it. I'm going to make it hard to read. I'm going to make it unattractive to read. I'm going to make you want to comment. You know what I can do really easily? Comment. You know what I can't do easily? Read the damn caption you spent so long writing. So like you're mad at the tool. You're not mad at me. But I definitely
well, mad at the tool and you then, because the answer to what you're saying or what you're going to criticize me on
I don't
is
criticize.
no. I know. I'm saying you in a very general sense. The comments that you're going to make that are either negative or like, well, you know that you can use Pete Free something. I'm just using a random example. I'm like, yeah, fucker, read it because I said it. You know, I get that probably happens several times a week in videos. And I think there's another comment to where either I said it or somebody else said, watch the whole video before you say something. But people are so triggered into 10 seconds in and they heard some trigger word or something they saw and they go right to making their comment, where what addresses their comment is maybe within the video or it's in the comments addressed by it. And you're damned if you do, damned if you don't, because like you said, all of this social media is made for being quick. So how do you put enough context?
Because that's your fault too, though. You're trying, even right now, we're trying to be narrative. We're trying to be interesting. We want people to listen to this whole video. So everything we're trying to do is like, hold the good stuff for the end. If this was a business email and you were like, did you read the whole video? I'd be like, you're fired. Put the most important information at the top. Don't make me read the whole video. Right? So like technically, if we were just doing it to share the most important information, it would be in writing on the top of the video, or it'd be the first thing you say in the 10 seconds before it clips you out. Instead, we're trying to be entertaining. We're trying to put on a show. We want you to stay for all the content. Instagram has incentives, so you watch the whole thing and then the creator gets something. So the creator's purposely like, watch part 2 bullshit, right?
Or they leave.
So
yeah, you're right.
This is not the fault of your viewers. This is the fault of the app. Sometimes, but it's the fault of the app. It's the fault, like if you're trying to like hook people, like you've been posting shorts and videos and stories of me saying really dumb stuff without context. People should easily be like, this girl's crazy, right? Like that should be the reaction, and that's fine. Like that's the point of it. Like whatever videos I clip out of this are probably going to be get people mad at me and you. And that's my intention. You know, like if my intention was like, watch the whole video, you may understand. Then I put, hey, boring things happened. They didn't actually discuss that much. Probably don't watch the whole live.
So there's times to where the creator is being manipulative in the type of video that they make to get either doing what we're talking about to where they will leave out purposefully a detail. And that is a trick.
It's a smart
social
trick.
media
it's an entertaining trick.
Creators will, let's say if you're doing a recipe and you leave something really obvious out, you know people are going to catch that and they're going to make a comment, and boom, that's what you get. If as a creator you're looking for people to interact, yeah, that's a trick and a manipulation technique as a creator to do that. So yeah, a lot of these, damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yeah.
But for those that are putting out content, let's say a composting technique content, and you're doing the best that you can, and then you get several comments of things that you're like, yeah, I talked about that if you watch the entire video, in addition to the captions at the bottom. But yeah, I get it. But for those of us that want to do better, because that's the thing. There's some people like, fuck it. I'll do whatever I want. I'm the most important person in the world. But for those of us that are a little more kind of you just want to be aware. So depending on the creator that I'm following, I give them the benefit of the doubt. And I make sure before I comment, I ask myself, did this come up in the video? Did I read the caption?
But that is impressive. So like here, Amanda says it here. And Amanda, you're saying ward off, but I think you also get a lot of questions. So it's also probably trying to like filter to the true questions that weren't described in your caption, which I totally get. Brian, what you're doing when you just said, like, I try to read the caption first. You are having the emotional mindfulness to pause, to disagree with the reactive nature the app is trying to make you have. So like it's basically just really strong emotional intelligence is what you're practicing. You're saying like, no, I respect Amanda so much. I'm going to pause. I'm going to open and I'm going to read the whole thing. And I will say, when people put in the comment something like read the whole comment or however they put it, it's actually helpful because it's triggering my brain to remember to read the comment, because the whole app is built to not read the comment.
Yeah, no, right.
So I appreciate that a lot for everyone who does that, because I do know that like y'all are giving amazing info in your comments and it's probably exactly what I want to know. The app is just telling me to like be reactive. And so when I see that, I'm like, oh yeah, read their comment. And then I
This
read
is
it and it's
hard.
great. The video thing, I'm going to disagree with till the day's end. Like, you are making a super lengthy or too long of a video because you're entertainers and that's awesome. But the reality is, like, if you just wanted me to get all the quickest information possible, it'd be in the screenshot. Like, it'd
And
be in the
Chelsea,
subject
you
line.
realize we're to the point to where like a minute is too long for you? A minute,
Yeah,
30 seconds is too,
hello.
well, I know, but that's what I'm
TikTok.
saying. That's what I'm saying though.
A minute is
It's
way too
hard.
long.
It is so hard. Again,
You yell at me
to
with our whatchamacallits to get down to 10 seconds with our teasers.
with our teasers or whatever. Well, it's funny when you mentioned earlier where they say, read through my caption, or what did you say before? What they'll
Yeah, when they
say to
say
make sure that you
tell
read,
me to read the caption,
make
I
sure.
I appreciate that.
But when I see that, the funny thing is, I go the opposite way. I'm like, oh fuck, I know it's going to be long. That's okay, unless it has to be something that I'm like totally, like, my kid is like missing. Please read the caption. I'm like, oh well, fuck, I'm going to read the caption. But most other times, it's like this fluffy stuff, and I'm like, ah.
I know.
So when
I only read the caption when I was going to ask a question. I do it when like you're doing something that I really need info on. I'm about to ask a question and then I'm like, pause. The other thing I've been doing that I've been really thoughtful of trying to do is when they post a tool or something, I try to pause and go to their Amazon storefront first, because I'm like, it's probably already listed before I ask you where you bought it.
Yeah, I mean that's hard too.
I
You could,
try. They organize them so nicely. Wait, I have to call this one out because I'm trying to ignore that I just saw this comment, but it's just too good. I did.
I have very high EQ.
I mean, when you say it, it's not as great as when I say it.
Yeah, that's real. You know what's funny though? Out of all this that I'm thinking now is I don't know if I'll be able to post another piece of content after tonight.
Why?
I'm going to create something and then I'm going to be like, fuck, what did we talk about? I can't be a hypocrite. And then I'm thinking, I can't post this. It's too long for Chelsea at a minute. I've got to cut it down to 30 seconds.
No. I should clarify this. I want it to be long and entertaining because I'm there. Like, I'm truly there for the entertainment. But if you wanted me there for the executive summary,
I know. I know.
like here, I'll give this example. And Brandon already said this, so I may as well just pull it up. Where was it? Okay. So anyone who has worked with me knows I'm very, very direct, and I appreciate direct and to the point communication. And we're all way too busy in work because it's not meant to be a narrative. It's not meant to be a storytelling experience. Where that's problematic is when I'm like leading a workshop or when I'm leading a presentation. When I'm emailing, I'm on the money. But when I have to write a blog post, and I'm putting Brianna up because she helps edit my blog post because she's like the best content creator and content marketer I've met in my entire life. And I've hired so many of them. She'll help me with stuff. And she'll be like, this is boring and dull. And you say all the best facts in the first sentence. I'm like, yeah, it's because I respect your time and I just want to give it to you straight. And she's like, this is a terrible blog post. So I want everyone to keep creating awesome, longer form content. It's just also not giving me the highlights.
Well, but if you're the go-to person, you're the head honcho or whatever, and if that's what you want, then it's good to have somebody like Brianna on your side that can tell you this shit's fucking boring, and you give all your stuff at the beginning, but that's exactly what I want. That's different, but that's nice that you have somebody that can do that.
Yeah, she helps out gardeners if anyone's looking for a content market. Paid ad.
Yeah. What is this here? Yeah, as far as the
You
I
were
get why
switching the
most people
topic? Sorry.
don't search Amazon storefronts first. It takes.
I'm just cutting Brian off this whole live,
Yeah,
apparently. I'll stop.
I mean the Amazon storefront thing, also like where you get it. Boy, I mean that could be a whole nother episode. Also because I don't know. Does it bother you? You think that if somebody's using something and then they talk about it and it's on their storefront, and you're like, are they talking about it so that because
They get money.
they're getting money off of it? But then on the other hand, it's like, well, good. I'm glad they are. I go back and forth on it, to be honest with you.
I mean, I'm glad they are, and Bezos is getting a little less. Like, I hate so much about Amazon, and yet I'm sending him to space on a regular basis. It's so problematic. And so for me, I will always go to someone's storefront when I can, because what I probably hate more is like sending the money to the big corporate. What I want, and people do
You're
a good
still
job
doing
of
that though.
this. No, I know, but I'm already going to buy it off Amazon. When people promote smaller businesses, that's my absolute preference, because like I want to try to do that as often as I can. And it's very hard. And so like anytime any of the people I follow on Instagram are selling something, I try to buy that as an alternative wherever possible, just because I don't want to support big business. So I don't mind the Amazon storefronts. I'd rather give money to the creator, a little portion.
Speaking of the Amazon storefronts, do you know that you don't have to necessarily buy that particular product? That storefront owner will get credit for whatever you purchase as long as you click on that link. So let's say Brianna posts something about a hoe that she got on Amazon.
Uh-huh.
And she's like, "Oh, check
Why is
out
it always
this
about
hoe."
a hoe, Brian? Why is it always about a hoe?
And you click on that link and you go there, and then you're like, "Yeah, I don't know about this hoe, but I like these bigger shovels." And then you end up buying those shovels. You're like, "Oh, but I really wanted Brianna to get some credit for that." She gets credit for what you buy. As long as you use her link to go to Amazon, Amazon is then tracking you for what you end up buying there. Because I've run my report sometimes, and I'm looking, I'm like, I don't sell 80% of this stuff. And and when I went back to figure out how that works, really, I was like, oh my God. As long as they use your link to go to Amazon, you're getting credit for whatever they end up buying on that trip to Amazon if you use their link.
Which is well timed. Okay, but I didn't know that. Now I can just send a little portion, because Bezos loses a little bit because he has to give a little to the creator. Right?
Bezos and the big companies don't lose jack shit.
I try. Oh, all right. Give us another one.
Let's go to another one. Here's a good one. Don't ask to go to someone's house. And without context, you're probably thinking it's probably a funny comment or whatever, but it's not. And anybody that has submitted any of these questions, if it sounds like yours, again, I had to combine on some. You can take credit for it. Hey, Chelsea, can I come to your house to get those flowers you were talking about? That's your example. Hey,
don't
Chelsea,
know
you remember those peppers that you showed this morning on your stories? I can use a shishito and a Peter pepper that you were showing. And I'm in Atlanta. Are you going to be home this weekend? Can I come by and pick them up?
And this isn't you. This is random person I don't know personally talking to me. Because this is also, we started to get into an IRL moment too. So my brother-in-law happens to live in the same city you live in, and was like, well, now you have another reason to come visit us. And I was like, I don't know if I'm allowed to invite myself to Brian's house.
I said in my very first podcast, I think, with Andre, because I went to New York and I didn't bother telling him I was there until I was already there, because I didn't want to impose on him. And I said, Andre, I love you, man. I was like, I don't necessarily, if you come to St. Louis, that's awesome. Don't feel like you have to tell me that you're here.
Really?
Yeah.
The people I talk to most often on Instagram, when I find out they're like near me, I'm like, what? You didn't tell me you were like in South Carolina? Like, I think I got mad at Castle about this. I was like, you were on the East Coast and you didn't make it down to Atlanta? Like, how dare you?
It depends with everybody. You know, if I went to whatever location I go to, again, when I was in New York for the very first time last year,
Uh-huh.
and I was down at the World Trade Center thing, and I knew that's where Andre works sometimes. I could have easily said, "Hey, Andre, I'm coming down to New York. I mean, you want to go out to eat or something? Would be awesome. I love this guy." I didn't want to impose on him. I didn't
Well,
want to
you
feel
don't
like I
want
was a.
to. So when Amanda arranges a road trip for us to all visit you, how do you feel?
I'll be gone. I was like, oh, when are you? What day are you guys coming?
And I will
Thursday
say,
of next
I
month? Oh,
respect.
I'm out. I'm out next Thursday. I'm
I
out of
don't know if
town.
you're kidding or not, but I do respect that. Like so Reese, I think we probably discussed this in our last podcast because I'm obsessed with this concept. It's my new obsessed concept. It's my friend has a rating of boundaries. I'm going to be doing an episode with her in my work podcast, so I can share it for anyone who wants work crap. But she has ratings of boundaries. And so her first rating of boundaries is you need to know what you value and what's important to you. And if you don't know what's important to you, you can't set boundaries. Obvious. Then you set boundaries. Obvious. Then you start communicating the reasons you set the boundaries based in your values, honestly. And I was like, okay, that sounds obvious. She goes, and she starts questioning me. Oh, I don't do that. I lie. So I'm like, oh no, I'm tired. I can't make it. Like I was up all night with my son, and that's not really true. Or it's like, oh no, I can't. I have a 2-year-old. It's like I'm unavailable. People are like, oh, I get it. 2-year-olds are hard. I'm like, really, it's that I don't want to go.
Yeah. Kids
Period.
are a great excuse.
I know. And so her highest
blurry?
level, it is. Why? I don't know why I'm like zooming in as if I'm going to fix it with my eyes.
Keep going. I'm trying to see if it'll
keep going. I'm just,
but I'm just doing this.
I'm just no big deal. Her highest level of boundaries is setting boundaries authentically based in your values. And so I don't do it fully yet, but what I'm trying to embrace is other people doing it. So when someone's so if you really don't want us to come to your house just because, I don't even need to know why, I'm just like, rad. That's cool. For anyone who's on here, though, who is a friend of mine on Instagram who we chat with, like if you ever did want to come to my house, I would love to host you.
You're opening yourself up for another episode. Hopefully this will happen within our 24 episodes we're going to do together, and you get some creepo.
No, I said for anyone I'm friends with on Instagram, they're not going to be a creepo.
Maybe you're friends with a creep. I'm friends with several creepos. I don't want them coming over.
So I dealt with this when I first started this garden account. The very first thing that happened is my friends, my IRL friends, found out I started a garden account and created a fake garden account to start following me because they were trying to show me that I shouldn't do this because there were going to be these creepers. And I was like, A, you were so obvious. Like it was Rocky, Brianna. A, you're so obvious. B, I like to think I'm not being catfished. Like, why would someone be secretly a creepo? Rocky did it, Brianna. Yeah, come over. I have a guest bedroom. My husband's a great cook. I'm teaching him how to harvest.
I think I could go either way. It probably really, to be honest with you, you'd have to catch me on the right weekend and how I'm feeling.
So don't tell you when I go to St. Louis. Like
you can tell me if you can handle being either way. You can tell me. I think, like I've just recently within the last few years, just my family and my wife's family. I told my wife, you got to quit coming up with lies why I'm not doing this or that. You know what I'm saying? Just say
tell him I don't want to.
Brian doesn't want to go.
Yeah.
Brian doesn't want to come to Easter.
Again, I think Brian is actually really emotionally intelligent. Not when he says it, but when I say it.
But my thing, and that's with all of our social friends, all of my wife's social friends and stuff. Mm-hmm. And they'll come up to us, like, let's say at a hockey game, or, hey, we're all getting together. Nah. Oh, come on. Nah, it doesn't sound fun to me.
I love that. I want to be that.
No offense to you guys. To do what? Sit around and drink and talk about hockey? I could barely stand going to watch my kids play hockey. I want to sit around with a bunch of hockey parents.
I love that. I just had someone with a work thing be like, I could run this assessment for you for free and we could chat about it. And I was like, oh no, I don't want to. Oh no, Chelsea, it'd be for free. And I was like, that's not the problem.
It's so freeing to find, just to be
But it
honest
doesn't
and say
work.
you don't.
How do you, when you say it, do people stop talking? Or do they?
Try it. Ask me. Pretend you're
I just said I'm like
friend.
legitimately coming to St. Louis in the next 2 months.
Okay. I'm playing here. Nick. I mean,
Oh,
I'm going through the
and
thing.
so
here.
like, do you want me to tell you if I'm coming so we can hang out?
I mean, let me know.
Okay, do tell you if I'm coming.
Let me know.
I don't know what let you know.
See?
Let you know I'm coming.
I'm good at this. I'm good at this. Let me know. We'll see. And now if it's a thing to where I feel like, you know what? I thought I was dying of a heart attack earlier this week or something. Pressure should have been bad. I may not have much time to live. Should I meet my potential podcast partner that I've been doing something if she's in St. Louis? Yeah, maybe. So maybe 50-50, I might do it. But then, as it gets closer, I'd be like, I don't know.
I mean, it doesn't matter if you don't go. Like, if you don't want me to go, I just can't tell. Like, should I tell you that I'm planning a trip, or should I just show up and randomly be like, "Hey, I'm here visiting the in-laws. If you want something, let me know."
I could say something like, "Ooh, you know what? That sounds awesome. Let me know, and we'll try to get together and do something. Maybe like have a podcast, but then all of a sudden people realize, oh my god, are they in like the same room or something?
Okay.
And then it'll just fall off.
Let me put it this way: how can I introduce social events in a way that feels comfortable to you?
I'm not. See, now we're in a completely different show, and we're
I
already
know,
at the
but we're
1 hour
here.
mark.
We're here.
I know. I'm not a fun person to be around socially.
I know. So, like, how do you prefer people introduce a social event for you?
Oh, introduce and then be prepared to be blocked. But I'm comfortable nowadays. And where I'm like, it doesn't sound.
Okay. I don't want to be blocked.
Leave
I'm
me
happy
out.
for you to say
No, not blocked.
Okay.
Not blocked. I was like, we'll see.
Brina's talking about secret stuff in the chats that I wasn't allowed to talk about live, but I did. So everyone's mad at me, and I don't know if we should pull that chat up. We can publicize your chats. Let's. So you're doing this to people.
What's that? Oh, that's exactly what Brian told me when I told him I wanted to stop in on my way to Nashville. What did I say? I'm trying to remember.
Probably like, nah, I'm good. Thanks anyway. Emma, if you're ever in Atlanta, I got a guest room. It's this room though. So
if I was in Atlanta this weekend, if I said, hey, what are you doing tomorrow? let's go out, get something to eat, and let's come up with an awesome podcast.
If you were coming tomorrow, it'd be a little tough because I'm booked from 8.
What are you doing that's so important tomorrow that that your podcast partner that you've done 9 episodes with, 9 of 24 episodes? I'm like, I am here tomorrow on a photo shoot, and I've got tomorrow.
If you were like legitimately coming tomorrow, you have to remember I don't drive, but if we could figure something out, I would like make myself available at some point.
In the back of my head, she's like, she can't drive. She hasn't heard of Uber or.
No, I Uber, but I would seriously, if you were just like out of the blue, like, Chelsea, I'm in Atlanta, I would find a way to like make myself available at some point tomorrow. You'd have to come to Milton because I'll be at Milton. I'll be at Brianna's house all day tomorrow.
What are you doing at Brianna's house tomorrow?
We should do another comment.
Well, we need to get through all the other stuff.
Yeah. Okay, so it's been a full hour. Full disclosure, it's been an hour. I would like to do more of these because I think they're fun. And here's what I don't care about. If people don't want to watch the whole video, they don't have to. But I have 3 clips of Brian saying hilarious stuff that I'm going to be cutting later. And you can all wait to see the teasers I'm choosing.
I think we can all say what are the percentage chances that that's going to happen next week. It'll be good.
Hi.
We'll see.
Hi. I live up to my commitments, which is why I've not committed to anything.
We'll see. But we have like 20 more of these things to go with. And I don't want this to be too long because we've already established 1 minute is too long for Chelsea for social media clips.
I want to encourage you to pick controversial ones. Let's try like this one. You don't think this would be controversial, but try to avoid things that are obvious. Even though, like, I'm so sorry.
How about we start blowing through them because I'd hate to have asked for people to submit and then we don't put it up here. So at least we'll go through, and then if something catches your eye, then just go ahead and start going. I try to keep my house number private and refuse to use a filter.
Agreed. Oh, we'll do the filter second. First, on the house number, agreed. But for those of you who are like me and having a public Instagram is new to you, I actually think this is a great pointer suggestion. And do not feel dumb if you haven't thought of this. I hadn't thought of this. So remove photos, blur out images. I take a lot of pictures of my front yard of my house. I have to be very thoughtful of this. I did not think of it ahead of this because I only had a private Instagram. So whoever submitted that agreed. Take it like advice if it's new to you. Refuse to use a filter. I think is amazing. We should talk on that.
Sure.
Because I'm posting a photo of the flowers I took. And it's like, I do adjust the sun sometimes. I won't lie. And I adjust the contrast because I don't think the photo looks like it looked in real life. Thoughts?
I don't know necessarily if the user here submitted this on and using a filter in the terms that you're using it or using a filter in terms of the beautifying filters.
But that's all the beautifying is doing is adjusting contrast and lighting and shadows. You can't do more than that.
Well, I mean, the ones that are smoothing your skin and making your eyes bigger and
oh no, I don't pay for that crap. I'm using like Instagram. For that.
Yeah, Instagram filters that do that. If you look at stories and stuff, a lot of them, and I could care less if you're using filters or not. Oh. I don't use a lot of them because I think but I know there's a lot of people, they don't feel comfortable with how they look. I'm taking it this way because I think this is how this was used. How the context of this particular question with the filter of using filters.
I do not understand this topic. Everyone is like hitting me up in the comments really hard right now.
What?
I thought they were like adjusting how their flowers looked in photos.
It could be, and we could talk about it that way too. But I think in terms of, you're either I'll never use a filter to alter how I look, and then you have others that'll use like a golden sunshine filter and it smooths your skin a little bit.
I did not know. I don't even know these exist.
Amanda thinks I'm right with the context, but maybe not. I don't know.
Obviously don't know. Everyone agrees with you. I have no idea what we're talking about. Yeah, adjust my face. WTFY. I thought we were like, I'm posting a photo of my iris and I'm like adjusting scales to make the flower look prettier than it really is.
Yeah, that's kind of a subjective thing. I mean, I can't say everybody, but adjusting brightness, contrast, sharpness, is that adjusting it to where it doesn't look like in real life? I mean, kind of, maybe a little bit. But I think, in terms of using a filter to completely alter what we're seeing in real life, I'm not into. I don't know if that's a general unwritten rule not to use those. I think that's more of a private, I just choose not to privately, I've
evolved my take on this dramatically. So when it comes to my face, I don't do much. I will say for work, I use the Zoom like beautify mode, whatever. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know, it does blah, 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 something. I use that for work constantly because I think there's a standard that's expected of women in terms of makeup that's not expected of men, which is frustrating. And I don't like wearing makeup for work. I like wearing makeup for fun. So like, I don't like wearing makeup just to get paid. That's super annoying. But I've been told by different clients that like, you're clearly very casual. It's like, that's only because I don't have mascara on, bro. Like, leave me alone. You're very casual too. Like, you're wearing the same clothes I'm wearing. So I actually don't mind a beautify on a photo at all. I think there's a double standard in beauty. And like, if it makes you look more put together, whatever. I don't personally do it on my garden Instagram, obviously, but I definitely do it in my professional life. That's also, I wear blue blockers. Like Brian's wearing prescription glasses. I wear blue blockers not because I'm worried about the light, but because I think it makes me look more professional. So I would actually say I feel that, and I'm going to hit the different side of this and say use a filter if it's what makes you feel good and confident in yourself and like what allows you to be authentic. I don't care what that filter does to you. Like I definitely TikTok a lot. So like I know about bold glamour. Use bold glamour. And if you're catfishing, so what, idiots? It's the internet. Like if that makes you feel good, if that makes you feel like you can perform, do it. People put on pounds of makeup and crap all the time and we don't say anything.
I agree with Chelsea, and I don't. It keeps fading out of focus here. I agree with
Brian's
Chelsea what
using
she
a
said.
filter right
Yeah,
now.
right now the camera's like, we can't make him look any better. We're losing power. Um, I will say I agree with what Chelsea says. I think it should be a personal thing, and if you want to, go ahead and use it or whatever. But I'm kind of surprised. I am going to go on record in saying that I'm kind of surprised at Chelsea's answer there, because I would think that in the long run we could have a great discussion on how filters in social media and the effect of young girls.
That fully. That
That would make for a
fully.
good conversation.
But it's everything. It's like not
Sure.
just there. It's everything from like makeup to advertisements. So mine is like for you, the individual user.
I
If
agree.
it makes you feel confident enough to look at yourself, whatever. The
Is
broad industry of it, I mean, it goes the wildness it goes. I hear this. I hear this. I don't, if I have blue blockers on and no makeup, I get less crap than if I have no blue blockers on and no makeup.
I I get that there's a completely different standard and expectation between the ladies and us guys or whatever, and that would make for a great thing down the road. Is anybody
But
old
Emma's
enough?
right here. Emma's right.
Is anybody old enough here that remembers the Blue Blockers commercial late at night? No. Okay. I'm
Oh.
just no. Never mind. Okay.
I mean, we're of different ages, but I don't really.
I okay. Anyways, let's see here. Another one. Don't ask people to send you seeds without knowing them. So this is specific to gardening. But this is one that actually I know has come up several times over the last few years, in a sense that somebody that you are not super, your relationship isn't that close, and you just ask them for seeds of something that you're growing. I don't think that's cool, but maybe I think that's a unwritten rule. You don't ask unless you have a great relationship or you're offered the seeds by
Okay,
somebody.
this is without offering. I didn't know people send seeds. So when I was first offered seeds, I was like, who are these people? Oh my God. Like altruism exists. So you're saying without the offer, people are asking you for seeds.
Some yeah, so very loose
Oh.
relationship you have with somebody, and they just said, "Hey, can I get seeds from you on something?" I think you have to have a good relationship with somebody to even ask
Yep.
for it.
I think I agree with this one easily. The only thing that I'd add a layer of meanness to, I've had people ask me for seeds who aren't in the garden community and, in my opinion, don't garden nor care for their gardens. And I get it. They're trying to perhaps get started, but I've actually come up with this new mean index because I poured so much into all these people who said they wanted to start a garden. I was like, oh, you meant hostas. Okay. I didn't realize you meant hostas and ferns. I thought you wanted to start a garden. And so now I don't give seeds to people unless they like legitimately garden.
I think for me, this may sound weird. I don't know, maybe not. Within gardening, when you're swapping seeds with somebody, I think it's kind of an intimate thing in terms of it's I think it's really cool to have somebody's seeds from what they're growing in their gardening in mine and vice
Mhm.
versa. And
It's
that's
like
just not
very intimate.
I think so, but I also think it's very cool that there's people that are out there within our community that are very giving and will, hey, do you want some seeds?
Mm-hmm.
And I get that as well too. I feel bad sometimes because I can't fit everything out in my garden, but it makes me feel good that somebody thinks enough of me to offer me seeds from their garden. I think that's really nice.
Yeah. Mine is I'll offer seeds and I'll have like not garden friends say they want them. And I'm like, okay, do you know what compost is? Because if you don't, I'm not giving you these seeds.
Yeah, because then you're like, it's they're not worthy of my seed.
I know. I do think, and I say intimate, not in like a weird way. I say intimate and like I do think it's very, very special and sweet. And I've had like people walking down the street and seeing. So my fun thing, and the reason I'm more comfortable, I guess, is I live so urban that I'll
Hmm.
just people walking down the street see my garden, and you can't see any of my vegetables in the front yard. And so they'll bring me their vegetable seeds of like the plants that they're growing. And it's like, oh, I want to bring you my okra and bring you this and bring you that. And I just think that's so special. And it's the whole reason I'm doing this is community. And so to see real life community forming, not just the online community, is so
Right.
special. So I love the seed swapping. I think there are lots of expectations when people send you seeds in a positive way. Like, I don't think anyone's like, oh, my seeds didn't work. You gave me, I'm mad. Or just that you're going to try it and like cherish it
I've
and care.
I've sent out seeds, I think a couple seasons ago, and I offered it up to anybody that wanted them. And I remember three or four came back to me. Your seeds didn't germinate. I just kind of kept, and I was like, I'm sorry, I
They were
can't
like
guarantee.
disappointed.
Well, they kept kind of going on about it. I'm like,
Brian, your seeds sucked.
and I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to do it anymore.
Oh. Brian's never sent me seeds, but he did ask me to chop off the arm of my firstborn child and send it to him. So we'll move on.
I still don't. I guess a fiddle leaf fig, you can't take a cutting and send it to me.
No,
That's asking too much. A little too
that's an
intimate.
I can't. I'm not allowed to come to your house, but you
Well,
want me to
I'll
send
tell
you
you
a
what.
cutting
If
of
you
my
want to take a
silly
cutting
thing.
and bring it to St. Louis, I would have to then meet you then.
I do have a new fiddle leaf fig that I've been growing. If he grows a branch, I will cut that off and give that
I
to
don't know
you.
if that's the same.
It's not.
Don't ask people to follow you back.
Oh no, duh. We can move on. This is stupid. Anyone who knows anything knows this.
I,
I'm sorry for people who deal with this.
but it happens.
I know. Oh, I know it happens. I mean, not to me because I'm not cool, but
It happens directly and indirectly in a sense that they will either ask you, or you can tell they get pissed off because they will follow, engage you just to make sure you see them, and then if you don't follow them back, and this happens to me enough to where I've taken notice because I don't follow a lot of people.
Mhm.
That if I don't turn around and follow them back, they will unfollow.
Ugh, it's gross.
Next one, don't tag someone in a post to hopefully get more exposure. This is one I don't understand. I understand the question or the comment,
No,
but
I
it's
don't.
happened.
Give me a as if.
So I post a picture or a reel on my account, and then I tag all 8 of you in it.
But I'm not in it.
No, you're not in it. It's
No,
my it's
no,
my
like
compost.
inside joke.
It's my compost bin.
Are you using a technique I posted about
I just tagged you
for no reason?
because I want you to see it and say something about it.
Oh, I don't get this one. Okay. This is
I
obvious to me. This is just weird.
it's something that I've seen several times. I know other people have talked about it too. Because we'll DM and we'll be like, "What the hell? Oh, you were tagged in that also? Why? I don't know."
Oh no, this is weird. I do the respect of tagging the original creator is very important to me and I think very hard to do.
It's
So I do think
probably
that's a pretty big deal. If like you're, if you posted, hey, do it like this, I would try to make an effort when I was doing it like that to tag you.
sure if there was some tie to me or you. I think Amanda's kind of hitting it here, and I think what they're doing is they're hoping that you share it or comment on it to get
Why?
their post going.
Oh,
Very randomly, would this happen with a bigger creator where they just randomly tag somebody without any reason? It's usually a smaller creator that's going to tag people with bigger accounts,
yeah.
and then you're sitting there and you're tagged with 8 other people or however many you can tag, and you're like, well, what do I have to do with this post?
Ugh, that's weird.
And what do I have to do with these other people that are on here?
Okay,
And
if you
why?
do that, you're not invited to my house. You can go to Brian's house though, as long as you bring him a fiddly fig cutting that's at least 7 years old.
Let's see here. This one here, no free foot pics. I think this one was supposed to be funny. I'm not quite sure, but this one here, another one. I ping Chelsea only with random updates no one else in my life cares about. Example, plants per border.
That's Castle spin to that. Love it. We like overcrowded beds. So I think this is an unspoken rule. Tag me with your weird stuff that you like on Instagram, and I'll be forever thankful. I do like when people tag me in inside jokes.
But that's with somebody like Castle, somebody that you don't have a connection with. It's not going to bother you if you're getting that.
I mean, so like, okay, we're definitely friends. I would say like IRL friends, even though we technically only are friends in Instagram, but like we go deeper than that, sure. But yeah, like even people who I've only spoken to a little bit, like community is the only reason I'm on Instagram. So like if they see an inside joke from this podcast, let's say, and they, which isn't actually a podcast, and they tag me on something in Instagram in relation to it, I'd love that.
Well, you hear
I
that,
don't know.
people? If you're
'Cause I would
looking for
just be like,
somebody to
"Oh."
tag, and I
Not
feel
because I
like
want to get famous. It's just them like
no, I know, but
connecting
other
with
people
me.
that they need if they're looking for somebody to tag and to interact with, I get it. I know I sound like such a fucking asshole on this.
This one's nice. Would
I
you
have
be
a
cool with
bigger
this one?
creator, but I have had a bigger creator ask me to tag them so I could get exposure.
My answer to this one, Emma, would be no. Early in this, I told Brian not to tag me because I didn't want weirdo followers.
Well, but what if they're lonely and they wanted to tag you on something random like Castle does? And they're
Yeah,
coming
but
to Atlanta.
yeah, I don't want to, I want community. So like an inside joke, like so rad. Like if you're going to troll me on something silly I did, I'm like, yeah, let's play the joke. But if you're like trying to boost my account, I'm like, no.
See that so a lot of this I think has to again, it goes back to what Amanda had mentioned before about nuance and spectrum and all this other stuff in a sense that you are probably a little more social than I am. So you're willing to put yourself out there with more people.
Yeah.
And I've already established I think I've come to determination I can't handle interacting with more than maybe 50 people. And of that, I can only really highly interact with maybe 10 to 20, and that's probably pushing it. And anything outside, I can't do it. So
I feel so
that's where the
special.
personality of each one of us is a little bit different, and where we would answer some of these questions a little bit differently. There's no one set black or white answer in all this. This goes to Chelsea loves when we talk about things that are either black or white or gray. And I'm seeing things more in a spectrum myself with everything in life. There's not just a binary yes, no, black, white. There's a spectrum of 0 to 10 on a lot of these things.
Yep. All right, let's end with
child shaming, pictures of children having tantrums.
Yeah, keep
going. I don't like
That's
seeing
awful.
that. Don't be a dick. That's one of those general that, yeah.
It is general, and I saw this one because I think you did this in a story. It's general and fully subjective. So like I get it. So I'll go into my background. Not that it would seem on this podcast, but my background is in HR. I'll go into this one. Netflix, the company has a rule like this, like a company-wide rule. We don't hire assholes. I adamantly hate that. So like I get this. I get the concept of it. I get the intention behind it. I can empathize with it. And I also disagree with it completely because you're assuming broadly that people have the same standard and they don't. And so I would change this to start with good intentions and just make it like that, like start with good intentions. Because I communicate super, super differently than my sister communicates. And so if you're used to talking with her and then you talk to me on the same Instagram community, it's going to be shocking to you because it's not the same. And so I don't love something like this only because I'm normally seen as that person just because I'm a direct, clear cut communicator. So,
Yeah, I think we need Chelsea to hang out in some of our comment sections sometimes to
yeah.
find out exactly. I hear and see what you're saying on that,
Yeah.
but there
Spectrum.
are people in the comments that are exactly being a dick because they know what they're doing, because they know they're getting the attention, and they like having somebody interact with them, and they get a hard on probably when all these people come to somebody's defenses. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Because finally their phone's dinging through the day that they're getting notifications, and you go to their account, and it's like they have 20 followers, but they follow like 1,000 people, and they don't put anything out there.
Yep. And listen, I agree. And even like hearing Amanda's being specific and like, yeah, no, I hate this. And trust me, I hate this. The biggest thing I would say is it's more like let's adjust this to just say start with positive intentions to be more inclusive. So if someone is saying only men should use power tools, they're not starting with positive intentions. So I like to share like a better way of wording this that I think is more inclusive is start with positive intentions. That's all.
Who did we
Don't
say?
start doing that. I don't really talk to men. I don't really deal with men in my life.
You
So
know
like
what's funny?
we don't need to tell me that men are awful.
You know what's funny though, and I think we touched on it like really briefly, briefly before. Is like if it wasn't for your sister,
Oh yeah.
I
Amanda
mean,
called that out.
you wouldn't interact or engage with me.
No, I didn't know there were men in Garden Graham.
There you go.
Not gonna lie. I didn't know. And then Brina was like, hey, there's some cool men in Garden Graham. I was like, oh, are there? You sure? I thought it was a women community. Not because only women garden, but because I felt safe among women.
Again,
And anyone who
a
identifies as
great
a woman or
another
non-binary.
episode that I'm sure we both would have great comments and entertaining for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna start scrolling through these. Don't promote yourself on someone else's post. I've seen this before, to where either they're these accounts that are these aggregator accounts and they promote themselves on your account, or you're trying to go to an account that has good following, and then you're trying to stand out in the comments and to draw people to your account.
I have no desire to draw people to my account, so I don't understand this, but sure, you're an
Don't post
asshole.
other people's content to your feed. Again, just reminding everybody these are in the
Okay,
terms of unwritten rules.
wait, I saw this. Help me. I break this rule. I'm not even kidding. What is this? Okay, so you post something like why does Instagram allow me to
But they're allowing you to do that within the app because there's appropriate measures to credit the original content creator.
but
So
it's
if
like
you
if
do it
I
the right
share to my
way,
story, like I don't screenshot, like I use Instagram's channel
yeah,
to share. That's
then you're
acceptable.
fine, because if you do it the way Instagram wants you to do it, the way it's set up in the app itself, it automatically tags the right people and whatever. That's not what this person's saying here.
You're
This
saying
is
I screenshot your
explicitly
content.
taking my picture of an asparagus and then posting it on yours.
Okay. No, that's
And
wild.
there's a lot of people and a lot of accounts that do stuff like that. And that's
That makes no sense. The one thing I will say is from what I've learned, and this is why we chose Instagram. Like I know people have talked about YouTube and how that's different. And we chose Instagram tonight because I do feel they're different. Like TikTok is different in this category from my knowledge and can get pretty challenging because there's a lot of duetting and did you give the right credits and et cetera. And when I see something funny or hilarious, I'll post it on my story because I like want other people to see it. And I'm not great at knowing like, did I tag the right way? Did I not tag the right way? I don't know.
Uh, it's hard to, everybody makes mistakes, and I've done this also, to where I've used something and I probably didn't properly credit the right person.
Mm,
But as long as your intent is, you try more often than not, that if you're using content other than your own, you're putting forth some effort to give credit to somebody else. Where I find this hard is, let's say, specifically, let's say on TikTok, I love watching a lot of science and space stuff on there. And there's a lot of things to where they will uh, talk about the James Webb Space Telescope and the recent discovery. And I'm
hmm.
like, ooh, I want to uh, post this on my story, or give credit to that. The problem is I don't know who the original person was. So then I'm giving credit to somebody that most likely just stole somebody's content.
Okay. Sure.
That's where I run into a problem myself, is I can't verify and check where the original content came from. And I know it's just something that bothers me. I would love
Oh,
to find the person that originally made the content. And there's a lot of funny things that I've seen, and I'm like, oh my God, I got to send this to somebody, but I'm sending from an account that I saw that came up that's just aggregating funny stuff. And I'm like,
yeah.
I can't send this to somebody because I don't want to promote somebody that's not creating this.
I will send it to one person because I don't feel that I'm promoting, but I totally agree with you to the extent where I do tons of research and I'm again leaning more towards work stuff because I just don't share outside of my profession. But in my profession, I do tons of research and I tend to find like the OG theorist and then like build it up to where it is today. And I'll have that whole thing in a blog post. Because it's like it started here and then it evolved to here and it evolved to here and I'm evolving it further to this. So
Right.
I totally agree. I think, yeah, TikTok makes it really difficult. Emma just said this. TikTok makes it really difficult. I know we're talking about Instagram. But it sounds like
Especially with like trending things,
it's
trending
awful.
dances and songs and stuff like that.
You
The
never
people
know.
that are blowing up are not the ones that created it.
Nope. And I
So
even
that's a whole
try to
nother
find the
problem.
OG creator and I can't. But it sounds like for Instagram, as long as we don't find a workaround, like as long as you're creating it within the app, it's
And
probably safe.
and there's times to where the app is kind of like, it doesn't work for what you're trying to do creatively. I
Mm.
will reach out to Amanda, Brianna. I've done it for people I know, even though I know in the back of my head most likely, oh yeah, go ahead. But I will check with them. Can I screen cap your thing and make a video about it? Because I can't do it the way Instagram or TikTok is letting me do with a stitch or a duet. So I will actually reach out and say, hey, would you mind if I screen cap this to do this?
I will
At the
say
very least.
for anyone an hour and a half into this still listening seriously and not just here for the jokes, you do an exceptional job of that. Like it was one of the reasons I was kind of drawn to working with you and doing this. It's like the amount you can learn from just seeing how Brian navigates and how you communicate. It's very, very thoughtful. I've always been appreciative. And I normally hit on the less thoughtful side, not intentionally. I just didn't know.
I just run too long. I run over a minute.
No,
Chelsea's like, fuck
I
it.
want
He's hit a minute. I'm shutting down.
no, listen, I even love the hunts. Like when you get super meta and it's like you're posting someone that someone else posted, that someone else posted, and I'm like, okay, I got to go back to that person to see the first one. I love
I feel
that
bad.
stuff.
I feel bad for the original person that did it, and then you get a couple, really cute white girls that get out there with a specific dance or something, and they're the ones that blow up, and the person that created it doesn't get any mention whatsoever. That's wrong.
But that's it.
Um,
I do think it's a TikTok problem. Anyway,
Real quick, just through specifically some of mine that I have on here, and we won't get deep. These are just general rules that I follow for my particular accounts, in that I will only usually follow public accounts versus a private account. If I can't see what you have posted on yours, and especially let's say on a niche account like the gardening, if you're not a gardening account, I can't determine if you are. No matter how many times you comment and like my stuff and you're so funny and you're engaging and everything, I'm not going to follow you back if you're a private account.
I
That's
do the
just
same
my
thing.
private thing.
I do the
It's like,
exact same thing.
I don't know what you're into. I don't know what you're posting. And if I'm showing you my stuff, I got to see yours. I'm not saying that you have to, but if you're wanting to try to get me to follow you, I'm not going to do it on a private account.
Brian just said if I show you mine, you have to show me yours. So I'm writing that down. Keep going.
Here's another one I have. I will only follow gardening or how it specifically relates to a niche account. So, like I just said here, gardening, I will most likely only follow other gardening accounts that are public. My
Same.
cooking one, I will only follow other cooking accounts because I don't want to fuck up my algorithm. So, my
Same.
private personal TikTok account, I only follow things that I want to see the algorithm serve me. And TikTok does a really good job when you're really careful as to what you like and what you don't like. You tell it what you don't want to see anymore. It does a great job, and that's why I'm on it like 3 hours at night when I can't sleep, 2 o'clock in the morning. Amanda and I have talked about this. I usually don't follow larger accounts.
Mm. They
You know,
follow you first, or you just don't follow them out of the blue?
Most of the time, I will not follow a larger account because larger accounts usually don't interact, and they're more worried about their fault, like growing their account as opposed to kind of having fun and just hanging out in a community. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
No,
We can get into
I
detail later
agree.
on.
No, I agree with this 100%. So I realized I started following suggested accounts without knowing I was
Right.
doing that. And I stopped, not because I didn't love their content, but because I'm in it for the community. And Half Baked Harvest, which makes my favorite recipes, if anyone follows them, I don't have any problem with the account. I love it, but it's a huge account. I I sent my husband a recipe from my garden Instagram account and he made it. And I was like, that was amazing. And he goes, it came from your garden Instagram account. I was like, oh, let me figure out who it was. And it wasn't someone that like was small enough that I knew them. And so then I was kind of bummed because I was like, oh, not that I didn't want to promote it, but like this person's already promoted the sideways. Like I'm
Right.
so small. So anyway, I agree with this 100%. I was just curious if they follow me, of course I would follow them, but I'm trying to avoid the like advertisements.
There's been a couple large gardening accounts, and this was probably a couple years ago when I actually took notice. I think what they were doing is they would follow and then unfollow, and I think that was their main strategy. And it's
Yeah.
a couple. I won't say specifically who they are, but they're really large female gardening accounts.
Only the
And
women. Brian hates them.
no, there's a guy, a very large guy account that
I'm
I
making fun of
have.
you.
I know, but that maybe some of you guys know. I don't mess with this guy in a sense that I don't want to see anything. I hate the fact that people will say, "Hey, you look like so and so." I'm like, "Fuck you," and they'll be like, "Well, what?" I was like, "I just don't put us in the same sentence."
Oh, I'm sorry.
Next one here. Oh, this is a good one, and this one I absolutely am behind. Don't DM someone with a video or audio unless you know them well. If you don't know me, I don't send me a video message in my DM or an audio message. That's a more intimate thing, I think. What do you think?
Oh God, I have the most unpopular opinion on this. So I'm evolving. Brian has sent me audio messages. You're about to learn something. I hate them. Like Brianna sends them to me. Everyone sends them to me. My literal twin sister. I hate them, but I don't want people to stop sending me them. So I'm not saying that. I understand it's a convenience factor. It's just something about it. I don't know. I haven't like gotten up with the times yet.
The audio for me, I get it.
Well,
There's
video as well. I
a
don't want
form of
either.
communication. I'll have to try to remember to take note. I view
No,
those
don't
as
change.
being
Don't change.
more real. Like there's times I think Amanda and we've sent a lot of video messages back and forth. And so when I'm texting in a DM, that's one level. But when I'm like getting kind of real or I'm like, look at this shit, that's when I go to either audio or a video because I want you to see my inflection. I want you to see my
Mhm.
face. It's a more intimate thing, but I don't do that with hardly anybody. And people that I don't really know when they send me that shit,
Yeah.
nowadays, I don't even open them.
Okay. So I hate both, even with people I know very well, which I know sounds awful. I'm like, please do not change because I recognize it is more convenient for others. I type crazy fast. I use audio typing. No, I agree. I totally agree with this message. It's a multitasking problem. So when I tend to get audio or video messages, I have to save them because I'm on a lot of video content throughout the day. Honestly, my work has shifted, so I probably have more time now. But before, I was in meetings from 9 to 5, meetings back to back to back to back to back. And so if you send me an audio or video message, I can't do anything with it. If you send me a text message via whatever service, I can respond more quickly. So that was my own weird. It had nothing to do with if I knew you or didn't know you. People
Right.
I love and know the most. I was like, "Ugh, well, I'll respond to you at 10 p.m.
And
Because
Emma's
also my son gets mad, so I can't watch it or listen to it when he's around.
so I get what you're saying there. What Emma says also, when I'm sending those, it's not because that's just here's some
I'm in
random
Emma's camp.
conversation from Brian, and he's just, hey, how's your day going? And no, mine's like, you know, did you see that shit? I mean, it's like
I
it's
love
next
it.
level.
I
So
love
if you're
it.
getting a video or an audio message from me, you know that you better go walk out of a room and be able to hear, because I got something that I need you to hear and
I
see
love
my
it.
face make the face.
No, and listen, Amanda sent me one today that required the tone. I love it. I love it so much. It's here's what I'll say it is, and Emma, I'm curious if you agree. It's a FOMO problem for me. It's you sent me a message, I can't consume it right away because it's audio or video. Well, if you had texted it, I would know what you said. And I'm dying to know what you said, but I can't know quick enough. So I think it's more a FOMO problem of why I don't like it. Because I'm like, my son will not, he's like, no, mama, no talk. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I know, but I want to hear what they're saying.
So I'm trying to write down, don't send
Don't
audio
write
and
that
video to
down.
Chelsea and Emma.
No.
Amanda's okay with it, I think, unless she said something in the notes. But my thing is, I'm not for making that my primary way to communicate with you or with somebody. This is we need to have a direct line of sight when I'm saying what I'm going to have to say.
But I hear you, and I do agree with Emma here. Like, if I know you that well, tone is obvious. But I would actually, I'm down for phone calls. Like, I'm chill. I don't need text. I know I'm young, but like, I don't need that. I'm happy to like get live on a phone. I'm even happy to do a video call. My problem is much more, am I working? Is my son present? If my son is present, I can't check audio or video messages because he gets annoyed and he throws my phone.
I underlined, don't send Chelsea
No,
video and
no,
audio.
no, no.
Let's see here. Let's go to the
And
next
Emma
one.
and I have the same problem. It's a work problem. Thank you, Emma.
Don't send random links or reels, TikToks, unless you have a really good relationship. So this is one that I get a lot more of these days, to where people that I have very casual relationship online with will send me things that they think that I would think is funny, I guess. And I'm just like, you got to, unless you really know me and you know, like it's either some awful shit that like just you and I, you know, maybe we can laugh about it here, but not anywhere else, or you know what I'm saying? Just it's something.
Yeah, no, I
But
get it.
to send me random stuff that I'm like, unless you know me, and if you have to ask, like, do I know Brian enough to send this? Then you probably don't. But if you're like,
Yeah.
oh my God, Brian has to fucking see this, he will die.
Okay.
Then yeah.
Others, I would love your thoughts on this one because my gut reaction was like, no, why? And then in reality, Brian, I've never sent you. I do think for me, this is a relationship milestone. I don't think I've ever sent you a random reel or TikTok.
Mm-mm.
I send them constantly. I have plenty of relationships where it's the only way we communicate. My husband constantly shuts down all social media, which infuriates me because he's lacking like a main port of my communication. Sure. But yeah, I don't think we've crossed. So for me, this is definitely a very intimate thing I do, but I'm not bothered when other people send them. I'm trying to, I don't know.
Like a person that's just very casual sends you something.
I don't a social. So I'm not cool enough on
and then you
garden
feel
Instagram for this.
then I feel somewhat obligated to reply with something. And then most of the time, most of the people that are sending it that
Mm.
don't have the awareness of we're not at that level are expecting me to say something. What am I going to say? I'm not
No,
going
no,
to make up,
no.
oh my God, this was so funny.
If we're at this level, there is no response other than another good reel. You should never respond to a funny thing. You respond to the emoji and then you
What?
send a follow up.
You
That's
need
the
some
only
response because you
response.
have to see, you have to show that you acknowledge seeing it and that it was funny. But I'm
The only
saying,
response is like a haha emoji or a different emoji plus a follow up reel.
and if that's the relationship that you have, yeah, I totally get it. But for people that are not,
Oh no. Yeah, I don't
they're
know.
not that close and they're just sending a random reel or a TikTok, and I'm just like, okay.
I can
And
think
so
of like random IRL friends who've sent me videos and I'm like, what do I do with this?
so I will say there's an example recently to where I probably 10 different reels or TikToks
Mm-hmm.
over the course of the last, let's say, month or something,
Mm-hmm.
and I quit. I there were 10 that had zero responses, and then I got a thing like, hey, I'm sorry if these are bothering you or something. I mean, is it awkward? Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Right.
I'm sorry. That makes me entirely uncomfortable. Don't even know what you would do with that.
But you wouldn't want, I mean, what do you want me to do?
Mine is
You
I
know?
is similar to the voice or video message. I have to wait till I'm at an appropriate point to be able to watch them. But like my very best friends, like my very best friend in the world, we just send each other dumb videos. And she's in London, so we like WhatsApp.
I think that's great, but it's you have to have the special relationship here.
Oh yeah, I'll have 15 links from her unread.
Let's see. Don't randomly tag a bunch of
Yep,
people
yep.
in your posts. I think we talked about that. Don't ask for something right off the bat in the DMs.
We talked
We
about
addressed
that.
that. Don't ask questions that can easily be found on Google. We kind of talked about that. Watch the whole video. We talked about that. Don't post someone's content without crediting them. So there's a lot. I think these, if more than one person mentions the same thing, I think that's where we have to start giving it consideration for being an unwritten rule that a lot of people should follow.
I actually think one of the posts, which I am editing the video, I'm not coming up with this post, and I don't think I should. I think you should. A lot of these posts are very similar to things that I got. So I'll send you the list I got. Um, because it's interesting. Like, I don't disagree with any of them. I just wouldn't have thought of them because I'm not impacted by it. So I do think I'm going to make Brian write them out. What was your last one? I missed it because I was talking.
It's stuff that we addressed several
Okay.
times over. You know, I am also aware that there's some people there. I mean, there's lonely people out there, and I feel bad because I should feel. That's the problem is I should feel. Uh, um, but that's nice that somebody thought of me. I acknowledge that somebody thought of me when they came across the video. I was like, I want to have Brian see this. I get it, and yes, it is very thoughtful.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I am in the mode of I can't do things to please other people going forward so much that it makes me miserable. And it makes me miserable. A lot of this stuff does. A lot of the social stuff. And I've been working on it with social media and it's helped me a lot. And there's some things that I'm just like I've come to be like, hey, that's just me. I can only interact with 10 to 20 people at a high level to where our conversations will be more than just superficial.
Mm-hmm.
And then I can be friendly from 20 to 50. And then from 50 on out, I'm like, fuck, I'm following too many people. And that's why when I started Garden Voyeur over again, I'm like, I am not just doing this follow everybody. And they've got great gardening stuff. Great. I'm not going to do it.
Yeah. I do think, and I'm thankful for those that have big accounts. And I would consider a lot of people commenting today to have big accounts in my mind. I'm thankful they exist because I love their content. And like, I get it. My content, I know it's not boring, but it's boring in that I'm not posting it strategically, right? So like those of you who are thoughtful, and I can call my sister out because she's so good and smart and strategic and like thoughtful and post daily and whatever. I love it because you bring joy to my phone and give me things to look at. But I wish y'all had the community I have. Like every time I hear about the hate and the negative comments and the things, it's just upsetting for me because I get both y'all's amazing content, which is so fun for me, and a beautiful, what feels like very safe community of people that never feels like creepers and don't feel like catfish. And like, I don't get weird crap and I'm thankful for it. I don't want it. If I wanted it, if it happened to me, I'd be gone. Um, so anyway, this whole thing is like the unwritten rules. I hear them. I think some of them would be helpful. I think most of them are just like good reminders to like be a real person, be authentic. I'm so thankful for like all these people that I have community with in a weird online way. And to the point where I'm like, Brian, how can we relate to each other without me crossing boundaries for you? Because it's fair. We're here virtually, but I'm legitimately like, if you want to come stay here, bring the whole fam. That'd be so fun. And you're
I'll
like,
be
that
there
sounds like
tomorrow.
hell. No, you won't be here tomorrow. If you would, it'd be fun. There's stuff going down.
Yeah, I wouldn't know that, but
It's Atlanta stuff. You're not in Atlanta.
I've only been to Atlanta once. It's like driving through. But anyways, I
Next
thought
time.
this was super helpful. And again, I go back to people that their intent is good will probably take a piece of this or that throughout here and be like, you know what? Maybe I was doing this, and I'll be a little more mindful going forward before I post something. Or I always try to double check when I'm writing a response in a comment or something. I'm like, could this be taken different ways? I have to really make sure. And if there's a question to it, I always throw in funny emojis just to soften it up, just to, again, to be like, I'm trying to be funny and smart ass,
Yeah.
but that it's in good intention. So it's like winky face, like the tongue thing or something. But the people that just don't give a shit, there's not much you're going to do to get them to change. And hopefully over time, people don't have to deal with too many of that.
Yeah.
And hopefully over time, it doesn't accumulate. And then for me, it's more of the accumulation over time. That's like, yeah, I can leave it. I don't need it anymore.
Well, I know you've normally been quite the social media curmudgeon. I think that was a very uplifting. It's like a whole new Brian, what you just shared.
What did dealing with some of the negativity in a graceful way is worth it if I'm staying true to my why? I
No.
get it. You're right. Um, but sometimes your tank in effort, the tank is just, it gets empty sometimes.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
I have to remember that as well. That if I get frustrated with somebody online or something, maybe they're just having a bad day. Give them the benefit of the doubt.
but it's also like, do you need the fame or reach? And I don't mean to say that in a negative way. I mean, truly, so truly your goals involve reach. And I mean that in the most well-hearted way ever. So like I came from running a venture scale startup in my work to a small single owned LLC. And like I was looking for reach in the previous life. I'm not in my current work scenario. And so similarly, I think you'd apply that to Instagram. Like, is
Yeah.
reach important to you? Is that part of your why? Like,
But
is my why I'm going to spread this vision? Then reach is valuable to you. And you're not looking for fame so much as you're looking for impact. I'm looking for community and not impact or spread, which is different, right? So I'm not hitting many people. Like if you're in my world, like my biggest advice, because I've heard people challenged by this, block everybody.
right.
If they're a hater for a half a second, block them. Like it's not worth it. And so yeah, Brian and I have joked, like, let's check our block list. But like if you need, DM me later, if you need advice or guidance, I have a really easy algorithm. I don't have any hate. I don't have any drama. I don't have any trouble. I don't have any of it. And I won't stand for it. And I feel like my community is just like love, community, and gardening. And it's beautiful and it's so uplifting. But for those of you who have bigger missions that are so powerful, power to you. Like, however I can support you, let me know. And I've hated on people's haters for them. Not that it matters coming from my voice, but I don't know. I love people that are hitting a bigger mission. If you're not, just stay out of it. Fuck them.
I think for me, I have to keep going back to what Emma was talking about there, the why. And I've adjusted my why that I have each one of these accounts that I have and that I'm on. So, like my Instagram gardening account, the why I have that over the last 8 or 9 years has
Mhm.
changed a few times over. And then it has changed recently as well. So there was a point to where I'm like, oh, the growth and making this bigger and having a bigger reach and all that stuff was great for like a year. And then my why, I lost track of really the why though. Like,
Yeah.
is this really what I was wanting this account to be for? And it wasn't. So but I lose sight of that. I've reclaimed that as well as what brings me joy and doing like the podcast that we're
Mhm.
doing. This is the fun, and doing something like this tonight is kind of also my why, in a sense that am I going to look back at this and be like, oh my god, we only had like 6 people at one time watching this, and we'll have X amount of people watching on YouTube and then TikTok and then Instagram or whatever. But that's not the why of why you and I were doing this tonight, or
No.
why we're doing 24 just random episodes where people are like, what the fuck are you guys doing?
Hanging out.
Yeah.
No, but I love that, and having fun, right? I love that. I agree. I think having fun. Only quick thing I just want to highlight, and like, Emma, I hope you're cool with me highlighting this. If there's ever anything the rest of us can do with whatever your goal, like anyone who's going for greater reach and actually dealing with haters and dealing with challenges, like I'll speak for all the smaller accounts who love y'all. Let us know, because we're here. We're down to be like warriors. Point us in a direction, because a lot of the hateful unwritten rules that have been presented tonight are disturbing for me to even see, because I'm like, why does that have to be an unwritten rule? I think they are actually in the rules of community for Instagram in some places. Unfortunately, they just don't have good policing. But anyway, let all of the rest of us know how we can help, because I'm here to help.
Well, we totally blew through let's keep this to an hour. Let's do our best to maintain
What do
time
you mean?
constraints. And like,
What
this
do
is
you
probably the
mean?
most bloated, long form one that we've done yet. But there was not a point to where like this went by pretty fast, at least for you and, well, for me. Maybe for you, this was like,
At
holy
least for
fuck.
you.
And the 5 people that have made it through till the end or whatever, you guys are like, oh my god.
Mm.
But I like having dialogue like this. I love discussing things. So here's the reason why this was kind of easy to propose a project with Chelsea, in a sense that you can have a dialogue on certain things, and I found somebody that can talk about a topic to where we keep going back to black, white, and gray. And what on the outside seems to be a very easy answer to maybe some of these unwritten rules. We come up with instances, like Amanda again mentioned, nuance to a lot of the stuff and case by case scenario. But a lot of times, where are you going to have dialogue like this,
Yeah.
other than in public? I mean, a lot of us
Yeah.
do this in the DMs already.
Yeah.
We've touched on almost every one of these topics in some way, shape, or form,
Mm-hmm.
with several people that were here tonight and others that probably weren't. So it's something that's a little bit bigger than, it's something that needs to be kind of discussed. But I love the fact that we can kind of put this out in a public forum ish. I don't know if it's
Yep.
public if there's only 5 people watching, but
Eventually, we post it to all the various social media pages. Follow us in your favorite one.
but I think I think of the people that have been here and interacted with us, I think it also goes through your mind as well that you're trying. Your intent is to be, for the most part, be just kind of positive and having a lot of fun. I think just about I honestly, right? Everybody that's here, you guys crack me up at some point during the week. And the intent is always just a lot of just nonsense and fun.
Yeah. No, I totally
So
agree. You're I don't even remember when I mentioned that you were going to start hosting freaky sex parties, but the most recent reel you did, I just lost it. Brian's like a very, very good content creator. He takes what could have been a boring live and cuts it into these hilarious snippets that I like can't deal.
I get so I appreciate that you say that, and I in my head they're 1,000 times better. I just can't put it to how in my head I see it because I just technically I can't do it.
Wait, you're a perfectionist. You don't think it's good when you publish it? You're like,
No,
fine.
because then you know what the problem was with that the one that you're referring to. I
Uh-huh.
get to YouTube and they don't have Prince licensed. So then I'm like, well, fuck. The whole thing was based off of I want to live my rich and famous life like Prince, to where I'm a
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
recluse and I have, and so all that, some music. That's why it was Prince music and all that stuff. And then I get to YouTube with my clip that I had to chop down to a minute, and it took me way too long. Wasted so much time on that. And then I'm like, I can't even put the song on there. So I had to find a different song that doesn't even matter. Then I'm like, then I'm frustrated, and then I got pissed. If
Oh
you want to,
no.
if I can be honest.
Yeah, you should be pissed because that Instagram reel is dying. All right, y'all, get ready. From this live, you will be getting the editing efforts of moi.
So here's, yeah. So we're wrapping this up. But the interesting thing going for next week is I pitched to Chelsea. I thought it would be kind of I'm curious. We're all discovering this whole thing, putting a show together over 24 episodes.
Mhm.
What we find that's fun, and maybe something that what also resonates with other people. I was like, you know what? Maybe how I see things, maybe it needs to be changed up because all the clips are just kind of like how I see things, what I find funny. I'd be curious to see how well it resonates and how something could look different, how Chelsea can pick up this box and turn it different ways to see something
Mhm.
that maybe I don't see or that I don't find necessarily funny, but Chelsea has a way to change my look on things. And Chelsea's like, I can't do it this past week, but she's like, I'll do next week for this
And
episode.
I have every minute marker noted. I do not have the full editing prowess of Brian, but I will be pulling what I think is funniest about this episode, and that will be our clips for next week. So get ready. You're getting the humorous mind of me.
It's
Also, we should prepare for next week. I'm committed to this. I know this is out of order and I don't care, but our next episode, Brian, you better be caught up. Our next content episode will be Love is Blind.
yeah, and
There are multiple seasons. We are talking about season 4.
but we're probably talking mostly about the most current season next Friday. That's going to be our like performance show next Friday. We're still going to have our midweek one to where we review what we did tonight.
Season
And
4.
so season 4 is the latest of the Love is Blind. So in a few days, Chelsea and I will get back together for episode 10 of Brian and Chelsea Make a Podcast to review what we did on this particular episode. And then we're going to plan on how we're going to do our Love is Blind episode next Friday.
Or maybe we
And
have to wait because Emma hasn't even binged it yet. It's on Netflix. Love is Blind, season 4. So Brian and I talk about all the time about how we don't know much about each other and we don't share a lot of commonalities. One that we share, which I love about someone so deeply, and I knew that we would be good friends, is like trash TV.
and something like Love is Blind, to where the
Mhm.
premise at the beginning of the show is you're trying to match up with somebody that you don't physically see, and you're
Mhm.
just talking to them through a wall. They're both like in
Yep.
bubbles or something. I'm not quite sure
In a
what they
pod. It's a
pod.
pod.
That's right, pod. But I'm gonna save this for that episode. I'm not gonna say anything. I was gonna divulge something that
You can't divulge. No
I know.
one's
I'm
seen
not. I'm
it.
not. I know. I know. So if you guys can, uh, check out next. I don't know, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We'll have our midday show, which are always kind of fun, thrown together. We'll talk about this one, how we thought this one went, and then we'll plan for next. We're trying to do every Friday night as what we're
Yeah.
considering like our performance episodes, which are things that are we're trying to do different things each week. So
Well, maybe do Love is Blind next. I mean, I'll be ready because the final reunion is Sunday live. So we just want
oh
to make
yeah,
sure that everyone is caught up because it's going to be spoilers galore. So maybe
yeah.
we shouldn't do it that quick.
If you're into it, you'll binge it and just be done by next Friday if you want to do it.
Okay. So I'm down to do that. And then moving forward, Allison just got on and brought up performance. We do need to do like we've not yet done a performance show. We've done very talk commentary. We've not performed.
When I say performance, like an actual like we've come up with a plan for the show. I've loosely just considered our Friday shows, our weekend shows, our performance shows, but we do have actually some like performance stuff coming up that
Yeah,
should be kind
like
of fun.
I agree. These are content heavy. We have an agenda,
Yeah,
but we do have performance topics that we've not done yet.
those are going to be fun because that's going to make me a little uncomfortable in a sense that I, I'm going to embarrass myself probably, but I think it'll be fun. Danielle,
I think you'll love it.
I canceled my Netflix also, so I just have like a couple weeks before it's out. So we're binging everything with that as well.
Allison, I'm in charge of content this week for Tossing Salad. So I will post a zoom out of all of our episodes so that we can all, can we do like a takeover? Can we do like a fun post that's like Chelsea takes over Tossing Salad podcast?
However you want to do it. You know, you and I we've worked this
Okay,
out really good
I
to
got
where
it.
it's like, hey, can you get on in 20 minutes and cut a teaser for this or that, or send me a picture of you doing this or that. So like the thumbnail, if you can,
I got
I'd
it. I got a
love to
vision.
see what you would do with the thumbnail, and I'll send you whatever picture of you want me doing.
Yep. I'm taking over every channel. I have a full vision for the week in between this and next week. I'm taking over.
And I honestly think you're gonna have fun with it, the creative side, because a lot of the stuff that you do is business. This is where you can really this is where you go under the tossing salad umbrella, and you could just be as funny and as weird as you want.
It'll be fun. I have like 5 clips saved from today's episode that I plan to do. Quick note for anyone who's binging Love is Blind, you have to watch the reunion episodes or it doesn't count. I don't know what episode they are. It seems as though they're fluff and they don't matter. But I highly recommend watching the reunion episode. And then I highly recommend right after watching that episode, doing a quick Google search to see the status of the relationships.
We'll update maybe on our midweek show, our episode 10 show. We'll fill
Mhm.
you guys in a little bit more too on where you guys need to be at.
Which
So
is
just to get us
through
prepared for
every
Friday.
episode plus reunion. If you have not Google searched where they are today, I will have.
And for those that are listening to this and you're like, oh, I'm not really into Love is Blind. It's
That's
it's
cool.
it's about Love is Blind, but there's going to be a lot of was it tangential? What's
Tangential.
tangential?
Tangential.
There's going to be a lot of
Tangent.
side commentary about relationships and everything, and that's going to be the good stuff as well. So it's not just about the show, but the show is what we're bringing us together. But I mean, there's a ton of stuff if you guys watch the show. It's
Emma, I highly recommend this. I think it's a good idea. Good idea. Wow. Okay, Chelsea's had too many glasses of wine. You should rub.
Emma,
Tangential.
you won't have to. You know, if you don't watch all the episodes, you'll still have plenty to hear and say and interact with next Friday with just the comments about relationships, because I've got a whole bunch of stuff that I've got to ask you guys about
Have you
men and
seen
women.
any of the weddings? Have you seen any of them yet?
We just finished Not yet. I think the weddings are the next episode that we have to watch tonight.
Okay, if anyone's super into it and would rather us wait so we don't spoil, message me. We can talk about it. But
Are you guys messing? Is it tangential? Is that what they're
no,
saying? Or
that's
no?
not right. That is what that says, but that's incorrect. She's trying to make you say that. That's not right.
Tangenitals.
I know that's wrong.
I don't even know. But what was the word I'm looking? Is that the word I'm looking for?
She's making fun of you, which is why I love her.
Gee. Thanks a lot. Which prepare by the end of the 24 episodes, we have one more Star Wars thing coming out. I hope so. That we're gonna.
So Brianna left us because Mandalorian's on tonight.
I've got some.
That is the way.
I've got some major stuff I've got to get off my chest about just Star Wars, Mandalorian, all that stuff. You guys are gonna hate
Should
me.
we wait till the season is over?
Next week?
Is it the last episode? I never like to know when it's coming because then I get sad. But I guess tell me.
I think it's next week.
Okay. Let's wait till it's over. We can do that. But we can't actually do that because we're doing each episode of this has to be different. We cannot do a Mandalorian episode if we're doing a Love is Blind episode. That's the same content.
Right, but I'm thinking more in terms of like revisiting Star Wars in general, going forward, the plans of it. I'm talking Kathleen Kennedy, this vision, whatever Disney has got going on with this, the new movies that are coming out, Rey, Mary Sue types. I mean, I'm talking like controversial stuff. And I know you will have something to say. And this may be the end of our show.
We can do. It's not going to be the end of our show.
I think we'll come out of it and you'll be so pissed at what I'm going to have to say.
No, I could give exactly your opinion right now. It was so clear from our last podcast on Star Wars. Sorry, you're like a little transparent on this topic.
So you want to bring us to a close?
Mm-hmm. All right, y'all. I think what we've learned is the unwritten rules are have positive intentions.